know I'm here to stay. Counting on my wins, so I can't play it safe. Trying to go against us, get you out the way. Go hard, it's the only way to play. Let me say, I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Who can do it better? I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Hey, look, they keep calling me. Could you ride this beat? Look, probably. Okay, it ain't no problem. See, I can mold this thing like pottery. Better than I'm gonna myself. And before the talking, I need your help. We set the tempo. We bring this tempo. Let's go. Boy, I'm locked in. Know your place. I'm
party out here on this Wednesday night, Monday night, it don't matter. We really real rap. We're not getting us nowhere. I promise you that. Oh.
Yeah, they know I'm the one that set the trends, dog. Tell them tenfold, I'm gonna change the tempo. Okay, tell them I can't play safe. Got more wins.
That's all we got.
That's how we do it, man. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Fear of the North podcast. Now, for those that were here Wednesday, I know you're wondering, we just saw you 5 days ago. What is it? Well, for those that celebrate, you have Christmas Eve, Tuesday, the day we usually record.
I'm sorry.
And it's okay. It's okay. I appreciate it. I'm excited too. I can't wait to hear what you gotta say. And then Wednesday, Christmas Day, for those that celebrate. We know we just recorded this past Wednesday. We don't plan to record it this coming Wednesday, especially when we got AFC North teams playing that day too. And like, how are we gonna be able to record when we gotta get these games to watch? We gotta bring our best analysis, best content possible. So we decided, let's just go ahead and try to get out the way Monday night. But no, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you guys listening. Before getting further started, for those that support the show, please follow us as shown at the bottom. You follow us on X at Fear the North 4. When watching these streams, please do your best to repost, share. That's how you help spread the news and spread the awareness of the show, and that's how we can create an even bigger audience, and that's how we get the stuff really going. So once again, thank you all for being here. My name is Irie Harris. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Sapphire, and then established author and journalist with the terrific Steely Dan shirt. That's Chris Murray. Maybe we start getting some Steely Dan, dollars one of these days. I don't know, man.
We're gonna have some Fear the North merch and whatnot. That's what we need. That's what we need is Fear the North merch. And and I got my mug coming to me and whatnot. I'm gonna it.
Got to represent.
Yeah, definitely got to represent.
I mean, that's a fact. So, yeah, but no, man, we're really we're just happy to be here, and let's just dive right into it because there is quite a bit to dive into. This was a weekend in which there was interdivisional matchups, so all teams are playing each other. Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals. We'll get to the latter one later on. Not that that needs much discussion, but the main event, okay? The main event. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, you can argue, have now defeated the Pittsburgh Demons. It's out. It's done. Okay? On their home field, they won 34-17. What did they do? I know we're going to get to the takeaways, the key posts, and what really helped them win. But I'm just going to say it right now. They did what they should have been doing the entire time, what they should have no exception with them doing but that, and using their workhorse of a future member of Kansas and King Henry himself. 24 carries, 162 yards. I don't care if he has 0 touchdowns. 0 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. The fact that you give him the ball and you see he's going to get nearly 7 yards per carry and understanding that that's really going to help change the pace and really help control the game is just astounding. And it's just something that I was so excited to say that I didn't mean to jump into whatever, takeaways and whatever we want to dive into. I just wanted to just say that right quick. But please, thoughts, takeaways, Chris, Ravens, Sapphire. I know you out there in DC. I know you told me about being around some Ravens fans. Like, please, let's dive into it, man. I got to hear this.
Well, here's the situation, and here's what I thought. There were some turning points in this game that I thought the defense played a whole lot. The defense has been playing better since the first Pittsburgh game, since Dean Pease has come back to help out or with the defensive unit. But I thought in that game that running the football made it easier for Lamar to open up situations downfield. And I thought that they were able to run the ball to the point to where even when, even though he got hurt and he was literally knocked out on the field, Justice Hill had a big run. And I thought that the Ravens did a good job of taking advantage of their possessions that they had. And if I can play this the soundbite, one of the things they did differently, I think, was no one, they stayed away from turnovers for the most part until that one late, in the fourth quarter, not late in the fourth, but early in the fourth quarter. But it was just a situation where they just, they went out there, when they got stopped, they just said, okay, we'll get it back the next one. And if I can play the soundbite from
you want LJ on his interception? Is that the one you're talking about?
North Franklin Street.
You got it. Here we go.
Okay.
Having that little slight setback, but we didn't let anything bother us. Penalties, the little turnover here and there, and if we got stopped, we kept our mind focused on when we get another opportunity. And things happened throughout the game where it was like we could start having that little slight setback, but we didn't let anything bother us. Penalties, the little turnover here and there, and if we got stopped, we kept our mind focused on when we get another opportunity. And things happened throughout the game where it was like we could start having that little slight setback, but we didn't let anything bother us. Penalties, the little turnover here and there, and if we got stopped, we kept our mind focused on when we get another opportunity. And things happened throughout the game where it was like we could start having that little slight setback, but we didn't let anything bother us. Penalties, the little turnover here and there, and if we got stopped, we kept our mind focused on when we get another opportunity. And things happened throughout the game where it was like we could start having that little slight setback, but we didn't let anything bother us. Penalties, the little turnover here and there, and if we got stopped, we kept our mind focused on when we get another opportunity. And things happen.
Interesting. Very interesting, Chris.
Yeah, because in that situation, they didn't get over anxious. And having Derrick Henry run the football, that made the whole difference. That's why they were settled. That's why I think that, and they found themselves in position to do the things that Pittsburgh used to do to the Ravens. They took advantage of mistakes. Like, for example, the Ravens defense was magnificent in that they forced turnovers in that game. I thought the biggest play, to me, if there was a turning point in terms of momentum, was when Russell Wilson had a clear view of the end zone. I'm sitting up there like, oh my God, he's going to score on us and all that. And then all of a sudden he got hit. I think it was Washington, the one of the safeties for the Ravens, who forced the fumble. And basically the Ravens recovered after 4. And then they went 96 yards to take a 14-7 lead. That was a 14-point turnaround, 14-point turnaround and whatnot. And I think that the Ravens played a lot better after that, and they remained confident. They kept running the ball. If it wasn't there, Lamar didn't force anything up until that fourth quarter play. But they kept on schedule. They stayed on schedule, and the thing is that they pretty much kept the Steelers, up until the first half. I felt that they kept the Steelers receivers in check. They didn't. The Steelers receivers did not hurt Baltimore, and I just thought that I thought Lamar, like I say, Lamar was magnificent too. He got the ball into the right places. He didn't try to force anything, and on the interception, that was just it was a lack of communication. In other words, Rashad Bateman stopped. I mean, he stopped running, and it was just like, dude. When you got Lamar out there, Lamar was expecting him to keep going across the pattern, because if he had gotten it, if he had kept running, that might have been a touchdown. And I think that's what they were trying to do at that point. But I think that like I said, Marlon Humphrey, biggest play. That might be the biggest play of the year in this regular season because, as Lamar would say later, that he would basically say later that, hey, look, if it was a huge play, but we can't make those kinds of mistakes in that situation. And that was, Marlon Humphrey came up with, like I said, was a play of the year. And it was a situation where the breaks happened the Ravens' way. On I think there was a point where Lamar had fumbled. What happened was I think T.J. Watt had swatted the ball. It was either T.J. Watt or was it 56 that swatted the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands, and Ronnie Stanley came up with the ball, and then on the punt return for the Ravens and whatnot. The young man out of Iowa, I think it was King, fumbled the ball, and then the Ravens recovered and got even better field position. So, it was Desmond King, and I think that like I said, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the Ravens got some of the breaks that they normally would not have gotten, they got those breaks. Yeah, Desmond King, the kid out of Iowa and whatnot, they got him, like I said again, he basically.
So let me ask you this, Chris. I mean, are you of the belief that it was more that the Ravens executed, right? It was not that so you're leaning more towards that than the Steelers also helping them defeat the Steelers. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It was a case of execution, but you could get some luck here too. You could always use a little bit of luck because oftentimes, like in the last game in Pittsburgh, when Lamar Jackson throws the ball into Justice Hill's hand, and then the defender from Pittsburgh took the ball out of his hand. I mean, they both got to the ball, and somehow he took the ball out. I mean, that's a matter of sometimes luck, or sometimes the ball bounces your way. And in a lot of those games against Pittsburgh over the years, and I've seen it enough, it seems like Pittsburgh always. But that might be a byproduct of execution, because when you execute, when you're doing things the right way, like I said, Ronnie Stanley recovers because you remember the first game where the Ravens gave the ball to Derrick Henry, and on the second or third play, they fumbled the ball. Stuff like that happens to the Ravens all the time. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, the Ravens reversed it. The Ravens reversed it. They took advantage of the turnovers. They did the things.
I would agree with that. They took advantage of the turnovers. But I just have to say, the Steelers that I've watched for the last 2 weeks aren't the Steelers that I've been watching all season, right?
Why is that?
For me, listen, it's clear that they're missing Pickens. And I'm actually saying the opposite of what I said even 2 weeks ago, because they have above average receivers on that team. Mm-hmm. But, if I'm not mistaken, they had a couple of injuries on that offensive side. Let me drop this in your laps, Russell Wilson, on his thoughts on the game.
I put that game on me, in the sense of, there was two great opportunities there. Obviously the going in the end zone. I was going for it. I'm not going to fear going for it. And sure enough, I got to watch it to see if I could have gone right or not. I tried to cut inside. I don't know, and then the interception was just a difficult play for us.
So, right there. He was not finishing sentences. He's like, I got to look. I don't know right or left. I mean, I don't know. Like, I am shocked. I'm actually shocked that he fumbled that ball, given his number of years in the league, right? The basics that I would imagine you men are taught when you play pee-wee football about protecting the ball when you
Oh
run.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It always comes down to the fundamentals, no matter what it is in life. It always comes down to the basics, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's that. And look, it's not a we thing on the
Yeah.
interception. It's a Russell Wilson thing. He threw the interception, right? So is this what we are starting to see, a byproduct truly of Pickens being out and the Steelers not having real offensive flow? Maybe Wilson is trying to do a little more because maybe he doesn't trust those other receivers. The game, listen, the Steelers run game got shut down. Okay. So what do you, Irie, attribute this loss that the Steelers had to the Ravens? What do you attribute that to?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you hit the head on it right there. Regarding Pickens, and you seen the void of that because within their game, like I don't understand. And while I enjoy watching this player very much and being used in various ways, in no way should running back fullback, Jalen Warren be tied for the most receiving targets
Mm-hmm.
in a game. It was him and Kevin Austin both at 5 apiece. There was just a certain. I mean, for one, when watching the game, I felt for one it came down to energy.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing that really sparked out to me, and it's really putting aside the home advantage or the stadium noise or the crowd control. Even just putting that aside, just with them, even you watching on mute and you see both teams playing, the Ravens came out and they wanted it more. They wanted to go out and make a statement and say, "We are still here. We still run this division. We might have been sluggish a little bit early on, but we're still here. This is what we do." That was the main element when watching that just popped out to me, and I really contributed to it because, and they play like it too. They coach like it too. There wasn't, and what was one of the main things that we always talk about on the show, especially you, Chris. You talk about it all the time when it comes to certain coaches, certain people doing too much, overthinking the game. In this game, for the most part, they stuck to their strengths, and their strength was understanding. The last time they played, Henry had 13 carries, 5 of which came in the second half. They said, no, we're giving it to him. We're going to make him work. 24 carries. And the reason why I focus so much within that run game is because sometimes in games like these, that's what you have to do. It shouldn't be rocket science. It shouldn't be something that you overthink. It should strictly be because that's what this division is about. Being able to run the ball and stopping the run. If you can do both and they both, benefit you in the end, then you win. And that's what happens for the Ravens. Henry going out for 162, carrying the offense, helping really control the pace. He solely by himself outrushed the entire Steelers run core. And that was primarily as well because his teammates on the other side of the ball were able to stop that run defense. Those two elements are so important to not only win a game in this division, but to win the division itself. And that's why both teams are tied right now. And that's why you're going to see both teams really having to fight down to the finish for the title of the division because of that alone.
It's so fascinating to hear that because, when you think about the Steelers, they're not even a part of everything that Irie just so eloquently talked about, right? They're just not. And, they need to get rid of those doggone HBO Max or whatever it's called cameras in that locker room because I see a parallel between they seem to not have focus or, like Irie said, energy, right? They're letting other teams dictate to them. I'm still not over that Philadelphia Eagles game. I mean, I'm glad the Eagles won. Fly, Eagles, fly. But I'm just saying that Steelers team, I was like, who are these people? Who are they? So...
Well, I'm going to say this about the HBO cameras. Baltimore has them too. Okay, so does Cincinnati, and so does Cleveland. Okay, they're all there. But see, here's the problem. I don't think with Harris as their running back, Josh Harris as their running back. I don't think he doesn't give them the kind of spark they need in that running game. Jalen Warren does. Every time he was out there, I'm thinking to myself, boy, if I'm the Steelers coach, I'm using that guy. It's just something about him, whether they give it to him in the passing game, whether they give it to him in the run game and all that. He does something for that team. Pittsburgh hasn't figured it out yet.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying they haven't figured it out yet. But even in the Eagles game, I'm saying, if they give it to that guy in the running game, he's like a bigger Justice Hill and whatnot. You give him some touches out there, he gives that team a spark. And I'm sitting up there looking like, please don't let him get too much involved in the game. Yeah. But I gotta say this about Baltimore, this game, is that I think they were disciplined. Only 2 penalties for 10 yards in the game. They did everything the opposite. And like I said, and even with the turnover, the defense was determined to get. I mean, Marlon Humphrey has made that kind of play all year. You remember the Cincinnati game when Joe Burrow was just lighting the Ravens secondary up, passes here. That last play, late in the game when he stepped in front and got that interception and whatnot, enabled the Ravens to come back and tie the game. See, he's been making clutch plays like that. And I think that I think you're right, Irie, in the sense that Ravens wanted this game. I think the city of Baltimore wanted that game because, there's a part of us that's just tired of just every time they play Pittsburgh, it's just something disastrous happened. And when they threw that pass, when Rashad Bateman decided to stop instead of just following through on his route, I'm up there thinking, oh Lord have mercy, it's happening again. Then 2 plays later, I'm like, oh my God, pick 6, yes, and all that. You're thinking that, but in a real sense, but I like going back to Lamar Jackson. Outside that pick, he conducted himself like the MVP. And I think that he moved himself back into that race, by the way. And then let's face it, I want to see Derrick Henry break one. I want to see, just like he did against Buffalo. Derrick Henry is going to be a key weapon down the stretch of this season. And I think coming into this Houston game, now I'm worried about Houston because I think it could be a potential trap game and all that. But after an emotional game like that,
game at Houston?
At Houston, yeah, I just think at the end of the day, anything can happen. But the way I looked at it though, the Ravens just kept everything moving. They kept it going. The first touchdown was a little wheel route to Isaiah Likely and everything, and it was a good play. And then, like I said, the pass to Rashad Bateman, who ran a great pattern. Lamar was poised and relaxed in that game. He was poised, but that interception, I want to play this. He was ticked off on that interception because I think Lamar
was really, shit. I'm sorry.
Say it now. So this is Lamar Jackson.
I was going to say.
Wait. What did you say, Sapphire?
I was going to play the Lamar Jackson on his interception for Chris.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
I was still mad about the interception. I thought to put them back out there. That's what I was mad about, just putting them in that type of situation where momentum can swing and let that team get the advantage. I was just mad. I was mad until the game was over. I was still mad about the interception. I thought to put them back out there. That's what I was mad about, just putting them in that type of situation.
So go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
But I like that in a sense that I think he recognizes that tells me he wants to win. He made so many great plays in that game, but he focuses, and that's one of those things. He's the type of guy that tries to get better. He tries to get better and better every time he gets into this game. But like I said,
he's a nice young man. Like, there's nothing not like about Lamar Jackson, okay? And then you think if he's not playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are clearly going through reforming stage, right? If he's playing like a Kansas City, that one, maybe two mistakes has cost the Ravens those victories in the past. So when you think about those prior games as a baseline, what does even that mean for a future matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Did you hear in what he said, not only, hey, I hate when I do it, this is why I did it, and this is how I'm going to fix it? Did you hear that?
Yeah. I kind of said, I mean, he didn't say how he was going to fix it, but he knew because someone asked him during the press conference, was that lack of communication? And in that situation, like I said, I watched that play over and over again. Rashad Bateman, he inexplicably stopped on the pattern. You saw, I mean, you saw it, Irie. He was running, and then Lamar was expecting him to keep going. And now, and like I say, sometimes Lamar gets it out there even before the receiver gets to the ball. Is in the midst of his break, but he stopped. I mean, what did you think, Irie? Was that Lamar didn't see him, or was he expect? Because like I say, I saw when Bateman came across and he stopped. I'm like, as an old receiver in street ball, you never stop. You go to the ball.
Exactly. I think that play should have never happened to begin with.
Right. It shouldn't have passed in that situation.
No, not and because I vividly remember watching it with cousins, and we're grabbing grub, and when everybody, whoever is waiting for the grub, is all locked in and in tune at the same time on that television. We see Henry, who was entering the fourth quarter with, I want to say, 89 yards, through the first three quarters, and he just goes off for this 44-yarder in the first play of the last fifth, of the last period, and you're right there at the 11. And it's very, very ironic with that play taking them to the 11. Because the same thing happened in the Browns game, and we'll get to that later on. But I'll leave that for later on in the episode. Sorry, Saf. But you get to the 11, so you're right there within the red zone. Even if you don't, what's great is even with that, let's say that you go full 4 downs, you can still get a first down, and that's a first and goal. Get a whole fresh set of downs. You ask me, by that point, I'm using the clock as my best friend just to see how much time I can get off while doing nothing but giving the ball to Henry. Because I know whether it's on the first play or on the fourth play of this fresh set of downs after the 44-yarder, we're getting the first. And then guess what? We're going to pound it some more until we get into the end zone with him. So if anything, I'm using the more so with Pittsburgh, like, hey, we can be out here all day. You just tell us how long you want to be out here. 30 seconds, 5 minutes, however long it takes, we're going to give him the bone. And you know that you can't stop him. And we're going to get into the end zone with them. So that was my mindset, what I assumed would happen within that moment. So when I see them in the shotgun and I see that happen, I just suddenly – the only thing that would have kept me – I don't even want to say at ease, but the only thing that would have made sense if you're going to do that sense is, something within the sense of like a QB option. You make him think, and then you allow Lamar to use his legs. That kind of play, that kind of moment within the beginning of the fourth quarter, I'm going all legs because they can't stop either player. And it's nothing against Lamar nor his ability as a quarterback. I'm just thinking what them was riding in that moment, was going well in motion.
Right.
If you ask me. So, yeah, I would have not elected for them to pass, but to stick with the run because that's what it was working. And sometimes I feel, and I want to hear more of what Safra has to say on this next, but I just feel like in this day and age, sometimes we get so caught up within certain offensive schemes or the way things can be done or how this passes or putting a pretty red bow on this play or on this touchdown. Sometimes it's like simple is best. Sometimes it's just about doing the simplest things.
I've been saying that for a long time. Yeah. What do I always say? Don't overthink the game.
They overthink the game. They overthink the game. Just like I said, yeah. To you, clear credit, they overthink the game. So when I saw that pass happen, I was hoping it wasn't a pick, but I just didn't have a good feeling about it because that wasn't them sticking to their strength. and what moment and what time. And this isn't for those watching. This isn't even us dumping on Lamar or that pick because we know that he's better than that. It's more so the play calling. It's more so the play
Yeah.
calling at that. Because why are you going for 44 with your player and thinking, all right, let's pass it out next play? Why are you doing that? He's fiending to get into the end zone after a 44-yarder. And then this goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Sapphire. We're going to Pop Warner. Okay, talking about the fundamentals, talking about basic. You get that feel. Now you want to keep going and going and going. You telling me Henry didn't have that? Please, Sapphire, I want to hear what he's going to say.
No, I mean, I think you're really bringing it home because at the end of the day, like, look, guys, I'm out here on the East Coast, okay? And in talking to a number of Ravens fans, they actually sound like the way Todd Monken had been calling plays for the Ravens up until this past weekend. Their mindset is they have so many different weapons that they don't need to use Derrick Henry the way that we all talk about. This is the AFC North, for Pete's sake. You bash down that defensive line with your running game, and then you make folly after that with your receivers, your tight ends. But it's curious to me, regardless of where I go, right, from DC to Philly, because you got Ravens fan all up and down this East Coast.
My own household.
Right? It's like, we need to save him. That's what they're saying. We need to save Derrick Henry. And I'm like, from what? They're like, no, we don't need to use him up right now.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why they haven't used Keaton Mitchell or the other kid Ali in their running game. If you're gonna, because at some point you got to give Derrick Henry some relief, okay? And sometimes when you have a long 44-yard run, you take him out, let him breathe, but then bring somebody else into the running game and run the football. I don't like that. I don't like when you get cute, because at that point they're about to, they're about to mash the Steelers. And my thing is, I was saying, please don't let this be like, the Cleveland, like the Cleveland. No offense, but the Cleveland Browns. Don't let Pittsburgh think they're going to be in the game and whatnot. And that was the thing. As I watched in horror, I watched that play in utter horror. Why are we passing in that situation? Why are we passing? I do think that what Lamar has to do with his receivers, and I think what the coaching staff has to do, is that, look, you guys have got to, keep running. I mean, because that was bad on Bateman's part. But you know what? With Todd Monken, run the ball. In that situation, when you got a team on the ropes that late in the game, even early in the fourth quarter, you got to put the pedal down on them, and don't do anything stupid unless you got the situation right there. Unless it's a situation where you can, easily make that pass. But in them circumstances, you got to run the football. And I think sometimes this is the value that when you win, you can see mistakes when you win. Sometimes it's best to see mistakes when you win a game, so that when you keep the momentum going into the rest of the year. I think that the Ravens, what they have to do, at this juncture of the season, they know what works. They know, and I think on Wednesday, that when they play Houston, they've got to ground and pound Houston into submission. Okay, if you want to get pretty and let Lamar throw his passes under those circumstances, when they don't have extra people, when they have extra people in the box, that's fine. But late in the game, when you got somebody, you got to crush them. When you got a fighter on the ropes, you got him up on the ropes and whatnot, go to body, then hit the headshot. But you go to the body and take his legs out. And that's the thing that the Ravens have to do. Is that
I think your fandom is coming in, Chris. That is not, when I think about from game one to current, I feel like, Monken will use Henry excessively, like in one game. In the next game, it's like he's not even on the team, right? We talk about consistency. What is it, I wonder, about the Ravens, Monken's been around for a minute, how he is not saying when they are consistently using Derrick Henry, these are the results. There's no reason in my mind that Derrick Henry shouldn't be getting at least 80 yards a game on average. And so I'm not too certain that they go down and win that game in Texas or in Houston. I'm not certain that they do that, especially it's Texans home, field. They still have a lot to play for. And it's just, I don't know, Irie. What are you thinking?
I think this is a game that man, I'm really just I mean it's such an exciting matchup because it's two teams that are hungry, but it's also two teams that aren't that far apart. Because you have Baltimore, who, for as accomplished as they have been, for as terrific a team they have been, star players, coaching staff, respected, stout, sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
They have yet to make a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
AFC Championship for the first time in a long time, since their Super Bowl season, I believe. And then you have the Houston Texans, who have suddenly come on the scene and have bypassed whatever rebuild they were supposed to be with DeMeco Ryans, the real head coach, a coach of the year from last season, if you ask me.
Absolutely, totally agree.
But I mentioned that saying that they're quickly rising, and it's almost as though the Ravens are seeing a shadow of what they used to be on the come up, and they really haven't, rose and gone over the hump that people would have expected them to do by this point. With another terrific mobile, young quarterback, from Jackson to Stroud. So you ask me, it's almost like they're seeing a shadow of themselves from back then, which makes this matchup even more intriguing.
And he could read defenses, and he can throw that ball exceptionally well, right? And he's at home, and this is not his rookie year. So in terms of being able to manage that pressure and all the impact on both sides for both teams that game will have, I just don't see where the Ravens have an advantage.
I don't either. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like
you don't. Okay. So you're saying that the Ravens don't have an advantage in this game against
not
Houston?
The upcoming game. I don't think they have an advantage in the upcoming game at the Texans.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think their playoff experience plays much of a factor because it's not the kind of playoff experience that would really Stroud or over. That's what I was saying. They're really not as that far apart. These two teams just met in the division. Now it was the Ravens that was a better team, but that was the experience the Texans needed. The Ravens haven't really spiraled up over that sense. It had been over a decade since the last time they made the AFC Championship, a game in which they were underwhelming and played some of their worst brand of football, not within scoreboard, but just within compared to their strengths. What have they really done since? The Texans are rising, striving, and if they mess around, take their place.
Well, I don't know. I think the Ravens. I think that I think the Texans at this point of the season, they have a lot of injuries, and that's that's going to be the thing that I think that's kind of hurting them right now is the fact that they have a lot of injuries, and it's just one of those things where I think that the Ravens can get to them at this point. I think that they're going to have to take advantage of that. The problem is it's such a short turnaround, and I wonder if the Ravens are going to be at a certain emotional state when they come back. When they I wonder where the Ravens are going to be, because sometimes you can shoot the wide at an emotional game, and you can you cannot be up, and especially in a short week like this, it can be difficult for them to really be to be up for that game. But they got to be up for that game because they've not won anything yet. That's the thing. The division title is not is on the line at that point. It's still on the line.
So fascinating, brother. Because I think you started our time together talking tonight about how there are numerous teams that have had to play 3 games within a short window of time. Speaking of which, not to jump back and forth too much, but check out Cam Hayward answering that question. If he feels like there's an impact for players and teams based on this 3-game and 11-day window schedule.
It's hard, but who said football was easy? And so, we talk about it. If you're a veteran or you're a pro, you're taking care of your body tomorrow, but you're also watching film, whether it's this game or, the opponents. And that's how we roll. We don't make excuses. We deal with what we got and we move on.
There you have it. Right?
Right.
I mean, those boys down in Texas are young, right?
Yeah,
they're young. God bless Cam Hayward. He's got to be 35, right? It's a difference. You age differently on the gridiron. We've got our first question from Ohio Gucci, Maine. How big will Tank Dell's injury affect this Christmas Day game?
Well, he is out, and right now, Stroud is working with receivers that they just signed, ironically, former Ravens receiver in his short career, Deontay Johnson. Mm-hmm. Now, are they going to get him involved? I mean, he doesn't know their system and whatnot yet, but that could be a problem. But they do have a good tight end. This kid Schultz, who's a former Cowboys tight end, he can play. He's a good player, and I think they're going to have to. They're going to have to be aggressive in that game. They're going to have to run the ball on their end, but I just think that it's going to be a tough game for either way. I don't think the Ravens. This is not going to be an easy game for Baltimore and whatnot. This is not going to be an easy game. Both of those teams. I mean, the Texans are trying to wrap up the AFC South, and they're trying to get themselves back into the playoffs and all that. And like I said, they're no slouch, but they have a lot of injuries that have affected them. So we'll see how it happens. Anything can happen in that short window of time and everything. So that's going to be, that's going to be interesting to see how this game shakes out. I'm not. Did I sound like a fan on that one? I'm sorry.
You did. You absolutely did.
You did.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So when you think about what is he averaging, about 13 to 15 yards per catch, if I'm not mistaken. I think like, okay, who can fill that void? Who's going to step up and fill that void? Right. Talk to me about his total targets for this season. I think I'm looking at it. It's like 81. What other weapons does Houston have? Right. In terms of passing.
Okay.
Well, Collins is back.
That's one.
So it's good to see him. That's one. Schultz as well. Is able to contribute. I know you surely did versus the Browns because I saw it last year in the playoffs. We all did. So naturally, you put him within that.
He currently has 48 receptions, 482 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 10 yards per catch. And let me see. In the last game against Kansas City, he had 8 targets. He had 5 receptions. He had a touchdown, 24-yard touchdown. Oh, no, 24-yard was his longest, but he had a touchdown against Kansas City. He is targeted, a lot. He was targeted 4 times against Miami, 7 times against Jacksonville in a close win over those guys. And so, so they're gonna have to rely on some other guys on this team. And like I said, they've had the injury bug all year. They've had that injury bug, especially at the wide receiver position. So I just think at the end of the day that they've got to do something. And they also have to run. They have to run the ball. I mean, Tank Dell is out. They got Joe Mixon, and like I said, Nico Collins is out. They got Joe Mixon. Excuse me. running the ball for them. So, you know, it's not going to be easy for them, but they'll find players that can play. They'll get guys out there.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited about the younger Xavier Hutchinson stepping up, maybe having an increased role for the Texans. You know, when I think about Robert Woods, veteran experience, slightly over 30, I don't know. I think that Houston's have enough like in the reserves, but the question comes back to timing and chemistry and confidence. How much confidence does CJ have with those other wide receivers, right? And this is going to impact their offense, you know, clearly, obviously. So to answer Gucci Mane's question, I guess we should ask him to answer his own question, what he thinks. Will Woods have an increased role? Will Hutchinson step up, have more PT as well? Will that be enough to keep the Texans' offensive attack consistent with how it's played? Because they're definitely in, you know, what are they leading? And with that record, right? They're definitely headed to the playoffs that I saw.
Yeah, they're going to win that. They should win that division. Nobody's going to stop them in that division. I mean, Colts, the Jaguars, or the Titans. No one's stopping them in that division. So they'll win. You know,
Well,
they're a playoff team.
Yeah, and to further within that as well, like I think there's two elements that we have to bring into it as well. Just within my side, number one, and I'm not taking away from their past performance versus Pittsburgh because they did a nice job, well done within the pass defense. But Baltimore still does at least have one of the worst pass defenses in the league. So even without Tank, I still see a way in which they're able to expose some of those within Baltimore's secondary. Number two, and I know this might sound contradictory because earlier when talking about the Steelers, I said, you know, usually I wouldn't want to see Jalen Warren, you know, a running back of theirs be tied for the most receiving targets, you know, on their team. However, when it comes to the Texans, though, I have a little bit more confidence within their pass scheme and how they use their weapons because that's part within their scheme and what they have in Stroud. So if there's a way in which they can get the run game going with Mixon, but also, you know, some nice slip screens as well with Mixon, really get him in the mix within that. You know, a little bit of RPO action in there. Then I see a way in which they're able to, you know, really hold the advantage over Baltimore secondary because I just still don't have the full confidence with it. I think it's kind of intertwined with what we were talking about earlier, Chris, regarding why Sapphire Night may not feel Baltimore has as much an advantage as some would expect or think, especially after this big win. You know, like it's still going to be a game. It's still going to be some that they can't come in and just, you know, give it 80% effort. You know, because this is a team that also is on the come up and is hungry the way that they were a few years back. So
yeah. I mean, they played the Ravens tough last year in the home opener, the opening game of the season. And I thought in the first half of the playoff game that before the Ravens settled down, they played them well. The problem is that they are missing a lot of receivers, and they're going to have to, like I say, rely on other guys next man up. That's going to be their dilemma. But my worry about the Ravens is that, as you all know, the Ravens play down to their competition. Okay, the Ravens, even though I think Houston's a good team, I think the Ravens should beat Houston, but at the same time, it's going to be interesting to see how they come out of that game, out of that Steelers game. Can they compartmentalize it and say, hey, look, we met. There was some things we did okay in the game, but at the same time, there were some things that they could have done better. And I think at the end of the day, Baltimore has to, I think that the Ravens are going to have to come out, run the football, and play time possession. I think that probably I think the Ravens' pass defense has gotten better ever since they put Kyle Hamilton back as a safety in that situation. I think they've gotten a lot better in their passing game. They haven't been burned they haven't been burned like in the way that they were burned against Cincinnati. And that's not to say that Houston's not going to find any opportunities. I think they will. But I think this Ravens defense has played a lot better in the last since Dean Pease has been back with that defense, consulting with them. And I think that they can, and I think they'll be better. I don't know if they're going to blow the top off the Ravens defense. I can't say that because they don't have the receivers to do it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I'll just say this, I think the Ravens also, like other teams in the division, benefit on seeing them, twice a year. They get a look. They get, a look, and then they can, kind of retool their strategy then. But if I'm D'Amico Ryans, you know what I'm doing, gentlemen?
What's that?
I'm playing the clip of Lamar Jackson talking about he doesn't care what the score of the game is at halftime. He's going to go out and watch Beyonce perform. That may seem insignificant, but to me, if I'm a Texans fan, if I'm a Texans coach, if I'm a Texans player, that's a slap in my face, because that is analogous with Lamar Jackson saying, "I'm not worried about beating you." That's what I'm doing. I'm playing that on a loop.
I like that. And with that, that's in the same category as Indiana's Kirk Cignetti going out there and speaking pregame with the college football playoff crew ahead of their game versus Notre Dame. As if you don't care for the game itself.
Yep.
Just speaking with the guys, getting some TV time, or whatever it may be. Yeah, 100%. Enough.
That's bulletin board material. Although I kind of attribute that to Lamar's confidence. I mean, I'll attribute that to his confidence in himself. And if he wants to watch Beyonce, I don't know. Maybe that'll get Houston riled up and everything.
Fandom.
Yeah. I mean,
fandom.
But
Chris, come on. If a team was coming to play the Ravens, and you had a player on that team talking about, it's gonna be a interesting game, blah blah blah, but halftime, I'm gonna check out Beyonce. Come on, Chris.
I mean, it is Beyonce. Well, I can't entirely blame Lamar. I can't.
It is. I can't entirely blame, but you know what? And here's my retort to that. You know what? If Houston has to find something, I mean, first of all, Houston should be fired up to win that game, whether Lamar is going to see Beyonce or not. Why? Because they're trying to win their division. Whether Lamar wants to see Beyonce or not, they're still trying to win their division. And if you need bulletin board material to play, you're going to go in there. You're playing at home. It's on Christmas Day. You're trying to win your division. You're trying to improve your standing in the playoff race. You're trying to win. You don't need. Lamar going to see Beyonce is the least of the things that'll fire them up. You have a division title on the line. You have a playoff berth. It is week 17, week 8, week 16 in the season. You got to be, this is you're on a playoff run. And while your division and while the AFC South does stink on a variety of levels and whatnot, they should come into this game. They know it's an important game. And if Lamar wants to go, that's fine. Then they should be coming into this game looking to rough up that running game just on GP and whatnot. And I gotta say again, if Houston needs bulletin board material this weekend because of Lamar, then
he's trying to walk it back right now. He's trying to walk it back. Good Lord, the woman's 16 years older than he is. Come on now. He could put that on DVR. But those are things that are meant to get into your competition's head as well. Little subtle things like that. So I'm just saying, D'Amico Ryans, put that on a loop. practice, film study, walk into the car, make it your outgoing voicemail message when your players call you. Yeah, I'm driving that one to the hole.
Okay. No, I get it, but
All right.
I get that. But you gotta be ready. They should be ready to play on GP. They don't need that.
Right.
They should be ready to play. You at
All
home.
right. Well, real quick, and as we should, this should be what we talk about most of the episode. I mean, we're almost an hour through, but we will dive into the other two teams of the division. Are there any final thoughts for now within this game, or this subject of Ravens Steelers before putting a pin on it before we move on?
Yeah. I think Mike Tomlin had a comment or two when asked what he felt about the Steelers controlling their own destiny.
We're singly focused on our next opportunity. Our business is winning. We get a next target. We focus our energies there. The big picture stuff takes care of itself. We got to win a football game.
I'm just saying.
That's simple. And that's how he should. And that's his focus. That's what he should be focusing on.
That's the coach right there. That's the head coach of the year in my mind. I'm sorry. What he's doing with this organization. Like you can I've watched him for 18 years. You can see the age, you can see the stress, you can see the pressure getting to him, but he is, to use Chris's word, consistent. And he's not going to let the media get him off his focus. He's not going to let all the people like us who talk about you shoulda, coulda, woulda. He is just taking one step at a time towards the goal. So I thought he handled that question pretty well. That's what I had to just add, Irie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Love the use of video and everything and audio. Job well done. All right. Time for the after school special. The Bengals defeated the Browns on Sunday 24-6. How did the Browns get their 6 points? Well, it was off of a touchdown from Jerome Ford, and Dustin Hopkins missed the extra point. So that was that. Outside of that, Cincinnati, for usual, looking hungry and ready and looking like they want to make somehow sneak their way into the postseason. I mean, it really is a sense of what it pretty much was a sense of like what you see is what you get from both sides. Multiple just great plays from Joe Burrow. I mean, he was playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
And then the Browns are the Browns. But before diving into them, and I'll handle that, regarding the Bengals right now, they are playing. I mean, even Zach Taylor after the game, when it was asked regarding, I know I probably could have brought up the audio, but it was asked about like if how good it feels, or if this is the what it feels like it should be at this point where they're getting these kind of wins where they are, and he pretty much said that he's always had that belief in his team and that this is what they should be doing within their wins and stuff. Now it was against a 3-win Browns team, but still it means something and makes sense, especially within this division. And I mean, is this now? Do we feel sold that the Bengals could go into their season finale matchup with the Steelers, having won the last few games?
For me, the way the Steelers are playing, I mean, I don't feel as confident, right, about the Steelers. I mean, I definitely think they to an extent are still in control of their own destiny. But how about the Cincinnati Bengals, right? You think about. They started the season where they did, and they've come back, and they're still in playoff contention, right? I think it's, if I'm not wrong, it's they win their last 2 games, and they need a loss
next week too,
right? And then they need one loss from Miami, one loss from the Colts, right? Like in combination with this, and they need the Kansas City to beat the Broncos. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? And that's all Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
that's all Joe Burrow, right? It's curious to me because last week, I don't know if we were talking about it on our podcast or not, Irie, but we were talking about the in-season AFC North where the coach, Zach Taylor, was like, you want the playoffs? You're in the playoffs right now. And we were both kind of like scratching our heads like, wait, dude. But just think.
Let me. Can and I explained him on that. What he is saying there is that right now, no, they're not in the playoffs in the classical sense, but every game is important, and you got to play it like a playoff game. I mean, every game for the Bengals at this point, there's no margin of error. They lose, they're done. They're done. They're out of the race for good. So right now they have to approach everything because they put themselves in a hole. And when you put yourself in a hole and you have a slither of a chance, there's no margin for error at this point. None. There's no margin for error at this juncture of the season. The problem is that though they still have some issues. If Cleveland had a functional quarterback and a functional offense, I think Cleveland might win that game on any other day. If they had a functional quarterback, if Cleveland had a functional and offense, they had a functional offense and a functional quarterback, which they do not have, they might win that game. I said functional. That's all I'm saying. That the Browns aren't functional right now. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I appreciate you and your lovely take. I don't think functional and Browns belong in the same sentence.
I realize that. That's why I said if they had a functional offense. They don't have it. They don't have it.
You're right. They don't have anything.
They don't have it. But they don't have it right now. I just think that Cincy, that right now Cincinnati.
Oh yeah.
Destiny,
100%, 100%.
But they still have issues with that. That defense is still a problem. That's what I'm saying.
The defense is still a problem. Well, wait. Before I even go, because I'm gonna be going to both sides. Sapphire.
You know I'm struggling right now because I mean it's not about the quarterback, Chris. It's the entire.
Well, it's not the quarterback. You're right. It's the offense. I said the offense is functional. The offense is not. They don't have a quarterback. They can't run the ball.
You know why? You know what? I'm going to tell you why. Because the Browns have head offensive coordinator. Did I bleep myself out?
Yeah, you did.
I tried. Almost forgot to press the button. I almost forgot to press the button. Like it's over. Like Chris, listen. The players have already booked travel for the off season. Okay, and God bless. We've been talking about. Great players, franchise type players like Myles Garrett, who year after year
now.
I mean, so check this out.
I mean, first of all, I want to win, and I want the Browns to be able to put me and us in position to win. And I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win right now. And I want that to be apparent when the season's over and we have those discussions. I want them to be able to illuminate that for me, illustrate that for me, so that can be something that I can see in the near future. Because that's all we want to do. I'm gonna stay loyal to a team that showed loyalty to me and faith in me by drafting me. But we have to do at the end of the day what's best for us. So
that, gentleman, was a love letter to Browns Nation. I don't even see how that organization can part its lips, let alone look in that man's eyes and tell him, yes, we're not rebuilding. We have a plan to turn this franchise around in one season, and this is what it is, and convince him that is going to work.
You said love letter? That's a Dear John letter.
Listen, that's a love letter to fans. I'm going to tell you something. You got to understand Browns Nation, the culture and the mentality of the fans. He didn't call out a coach. He didn't call out a GM. He didn't call out an owner. I'm just saying.
Sapphire, I agree. Sapphire, I'm in agreement with you. I'm in agreement with you in the sense that what he is saying And it's something that I heard another great player years ago playing for a bad franchise and whatnot basically said, I love y'all, but if we can't win, deuces. That's what he's saying. In other words, he's basically saying, I want to win, but if I can't win here, I love you, but I'm gone. That's what that amount and that if that was a thinly veiled ultimatum. In other words, if you don't get it together, I want to win. I can't. I love y'all, and but I can't put up with this nonsense. That is what he's saying. That he breaks it down.
We gotta say Sapphire. We gotta say.
And here's the thing. And I'm gonna after I say this, I need you to take this because I was really good this last week, wasn't I, Irene?
You were amazing. You were amazing.
Thank you so much because they elevate me. Okay,
I know,
the Browns.
I know,
okay,
I know.
all right. Woosah. Okay, listen to me. What also happened in the words that Myles Garrett spoke? He emulated what Browns fans are feeling. How many more years do we have to give up family trips and vacations, okay, and tap into the kids' college funds to afford to go to this game and pay these tickets, right? These high season ticket prices. That's what he's saying. I want to be here, meaning Browns fan. Look, I want to be a Browns fan, but since this organization has come back 25 years ago, what has the organization given to Browns Nation that they could build on or think they have a legitimate shot to be a competitor? You answer that question for me, Irene.
Well, I'll start the answer by just saying, asking you two, what's the one component related to Myles Garrett that I've been saying for the last month and some change? What's the one name synonymous with Myles Garrett that I keep mentioning? I'm saying this is his blank stage.
Yeah.
Reggie White stage.
Yeah.
Another great another legendary defensive player who gave everything and some to the Eagles, and they wasn't translating to the playoffs. They given it all. He felt that there wasn't moving in a direction to where they would be contending, which was pretty much true. That's what they would fall down to. And then he would move on to Green Bay versus history. Myles Garrett is at that stage, and guess what? I can't blame him because somebody of his caliber, somebody with the resume that he has, you would not think he only has one playoff win through 8 seasons now going, 9 seasons drafted.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, so
heartbreaking.
9 seasons in, 2 playoff appearances, 3 games played total, 1 win. And that 1 win wasn't even one in front of fans in the stands.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you can't tell me some of these things I'm saying which are just simple or yet are so far fetched. No, really whatsoever. And he is letting it be known. I mean, this also isn't anything far fetched either, but in the sense of like this having been in this mentality the whole time, but just wanting to see where things will look over the next month. Because I can go back to, I want to say either a little bit before or after Thanksgiving, in which he's pretty much saying, I want to be Cleveland Brown. He's in, he loves the team and everything. And now they have yet to win since, the snow game. And he's saying, no, I need to see a pamphlet. I need to see a detailed vanilla folder of how we're going to win and how we're going to bring Lombardi to Cleveland. Because I don't know how much longer my window is, and I want to win. Point blank. He's done everything but win. And that takes me to the other part as well regarding just real quick the function, because we're talking about function. We're talking about everything going wrong. I'm just going to give you this one example. Because the one trend that I've been speaking about, that we've been speaking about this entire night has been sticking to your strengths, right? Using what works. We're talking about the Steelers. We're talking about their use of Jalen Warren. Chris, you're saying, wow, I don't know what it is, but he's just such a good player. Yeah, not to be lazy, but he's within that Darren Sproles, that Brian Westbrook mode. He jolts. He's gonna rise within any occasion and really uplift this team and possibility. To say stick to your strengths. That's why at least kept in the game. Baltimore, Stick to the strengths. You get the ball to Henry and get the out. No, get the ball to Derrick Henry. Get the his way. Out of you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now Cleveland, real quick. Now Cleveland, Jerome Ford, first play of the game, 66 yards. Remember earlier when I mentioned Derrick Henry and his 44-yard run, taking him to 11 yards,
Yeah.
11 yards away from the end zone? Jerome
Yeah.
Ford's Ryan. Now, off the first play of the game, Cleveland is also now sitting 11 yards away from the end zone. And then a QB option later on from Dorian Thompson-Robinson for 8 yards gives them 2 yards away from the end zone. And what do they do? And I hate to even put them in the sense, but it's on the play call, not so much the player, but the play caller and the decision within this. Instead of giving the ball to Jerome Ford, who just had 66 yards to take him downfield, only play the game, they elect to give the ball to Deontay Foreman, who was playing in his first game since week 8 versus Baltimore. That was October 27th. That's nearly 2 months since then. He has not carried the ball once, and yet they're electing to give him the ball in a must-score now situation versus a hungry Bengals team that's looking to sneak into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the first down. He get that. So now it's first and goal, okay? But then the very next play, strip fumble. Loses it. His knee was already down, and it's that the ball came out as well, too, thanks to Von Bell. And the rest is history. So it's a 99-yard drive. They go down, score, and they just took off from there. My problem with that is not even so much the play, but more so the player they elected to go to. I would have not been as confident to go with Foreman as they were because of the fact he's still returning from injury. I would have gone to Ford, the guy that, got them to the red zone in the first place. So that's just a simple, let alone example within a long list of what's going wrong within Cleveland right now. The lack of sticking to their strengths, the way Pittsburgh has to work to do it, the way Baltimore finally did it. Each week by week, we understand and see why teams are where they are and why they are who they are. Why teams are going to the playoffs, why teams are going to the lottery. It's damning. But yes, going back to the original point, though, regarding Myles Garrett. It's a Dear John. It's a notebook. It's, I don't know. It's not no Love Jones. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, hello.
No, it's almost like, look, I have waited and waited. I've done my part. I did my part. You haven't done anything. And I'm thinking of a Stevie Wonder song that says you haven't done nothing. They have not done anything to convince Myles Garrett, a great player, that they're going to have the continuity to win and whatnot. And I know of other famous player, Reggie White said it to Philly. Fran Tarkenton, spent a part of his career with the New York Giants, and they were awful. And so a new coach comes in and says, we're going to be a rebuilding program. Or we're going to rebuild. And that's when Tarkenton said, you know what? No more rebuilding. Trade me to a contender. He comes back to a better Minnesota Vikings team and whatnot, and he gets to a couple of Super Bowls. Didn't win them, but that's the situation with Myles Garrett. Same thing with Reggie White and a lot of other players. And I can think of, but we can think of basketball example. We can think of every sport. And in that situation with Myles Garrett is fed up. He said it in a nice way.
He's not the only one. He's not the only one. And that's the point. That one example that you just gave, Irie, like it does my mental. Because first of all, you have Jerome Ford out there like auditioning for his next team. I mean, can you imagine if he even played the way he did on Sunday and the week before in half of the Browns games? What a difference that could have made, how much pressure that could have taken off whichever one of the quarterbacks were playing, right? And then it's just like, I cannot reinforce this enough. I don't know Coach Stefanski or Coach Swartz or Coach Dorsey. I don't know any of them. They're going to get their money, people. Don't worry about them. They're going to be fine. The focus should be on what the Hades, the Cleveland Browns organization, are going to do with the rest of their time in Cleveland. They are a terrible football team. They are terrible. There are college teams that could probably beat the Cleveland Browns, gentlemen. So I just think, listen, the best thing, as much as this hurts me, have a real conversation with Myles Garrett, collaborate with him, work with him. Heck, James Harden did it in the NBA and the Sixers, right? Hello. Let that man go. Let's see what the organization can get back, because it's they don't have a future. I'm just gonna look, Wanda Sykes. I'ma be me. I'ma be me. Let him go. Sit down with the man, have a real conversation. Let him go. Put him out of his misery.
Well, see here, but see, here's the thing that's going to happen, Sapphire, and whatnot. They're going to have to basically, unfortunately, they're going to have to, I guess, clean house again and start this whole thing all over again. They're going to have to just do it, because right now, the coaching staff isn't doing. Players are thinking about ways to audition and get out.
Yeah,
there's no commitment there.
No, there's not.
And at the same time, you know, but Cleveland isn't so bad that they're not in the lottery now to get either Shador Sanders or Cam Ward out of at the college draft. Although there may be some veteran quarterbacks, if the Vikings decide to not the off chance that the Vikings may not renew Sam Darnold and whatnot. I don't know if you want that, but the thing about it,
or Kirk Cousins. I mean, what the heck? Please don't bring him up here either.
Please don't bring Kirk Cousins to Cleveland. You don't want that. That you don't want. And I know, Sapphire, I know you're a fan, and I know you love them Browns. But at this point, do you really think in the next couple of years that coaching staff has been a failure? That coaching staff has been a failure, and this year
I can answer it if you want me to. I promise I can answer it if you want me. If you want me to. Yeah. So
I mean, Irie, can this franchise go on with this coaching staff? As they bring another coaching staff, they're going to want to bring in their own players, and they're going to want to rebuild this thing from the ground up, unless they can convince Myles Garrett that he's going to do things and all. They're put it down and rebuild it again, and that's a reality. I know it hurts you Cleveland fans and all that, but they're nowhere near. And if I'm a Cleveland fan, I'm ticked off because let's face it, I would have come into the year saying this might be our year to contend, because they ended last year on a positive note.
I never thought that. Irie, take it. You know, we had this conversation, Irie. You better say something. I'm about to throw my computer across this room.
Are you not going to
Wait, Chris.
I'm about to do it.
Wait, Chris. As Sapphire's unofficial translator, yes, Sapphire was aware of what Cleveland could not be, and that was a good team. Sapphire did state earlier in the season that she saw this team maybe getting 5 wins this season. We have to find a clip to give her full props, and flowers within that. Sapphire did say that. I did not. Sapphire did. Yes, Sapphire is going to crash out if we talk anymore about the Browns.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to translate the last of Sapphire's thoughts before moving forward. The team sucks. No, it would have won with this coaching staff. Sapphire thinks. No, Myles Garrett would not be here much longer. Sapphire thinks. No, things are not going well for Cleveland, and don't know if they ever will. Sapphire thinks. And lastly, Deshaun Watson is being treated badly, and people are forget he's a human. Sapphire thinks. Sapphire thinks. More will be coming out within that. Hopefully, we'll get some more advertisement and dollars within that to make that a real show. You mean? But regardless of that, going back to maybe the other side real quick. Cincinnati is hungry. Cincinnati is a team that's looking to make the playoffs right now. Do we see a way in which that they can do that? They play Denver next week. If they win that, then they go into the season finale, which is Pittsburgh. And depending on how Pittsburgh looks versus Kansas City, I think will really determine the confidence level that we may feel of Cincinnati winning that game.
Well, I mean, I would say from that standpoint, from that particular standpoint, Cincinnati has to hope Kansas City beats Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh might win that game because Kansas City has been playing in these one-score games, and like I said again, anything can happen, but Kansas City is playing at a higher level, but Kansas City has managed to win one-score games, and so I don't know how long you can keep doing that over a course of a season, especially when you're playing a playoff contender like Pittsburgh and whatnot. So I do have some reason to believe that Pittsburgh could win that game. And then, what happens from there. But if they don't, Cincinnati's got to be ready. And then I think Cincinnati will beat Denver. I think Cincy beats Denver. And, although even with Pat Nix and whatnot, as a quarterback, for Denver. But I do think that that Cincinnati is going to beat Denver, and I think Pittsburgh. This is where I think Tomlin they're going to have their backs against the wall. They got to win this game. I think they can go in there and beat Kansas City. That's my gut feeling.
All right. Well, you know what then? With that being said, towards the end of this episode, I think it's right time for a prediction. So, in no particular order, Steelers, Chiefs.
Steelers, Chiefs. I'm going to say Pittsburgh pulls off the upset. I'm going to say Pittsburgh pulls off the upset.
I would agree with that.
You know what's crazy? I as well am going with that, and that's what I thought about even before this week, just within the atmosphere and everything, and looking at the physical schedule and their own. Mike Tomlin's ready for that game. If anything, I know Seth already said it last week. If them looking ahead to playing Baltimore, they look past that as well. They're looking ahead to playing the defending champions because they're going to give it their all. Whatever the injury TJ Watt was feeling, he's going to be looking 10 years younger in that game. Leave that. So I as well am going with Pittsburgh. Baltimore, Houston. I am going Houston in this case. I am going Houston right now. I'm not fully sold with them Baltimore going down there taking advantage of the way they should.
I'm rolling with YG. I'm taking the Texans as well.
OG, trust me, salute. Chris?
I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore. Man. I can't win today. That's all right.
It's all right. We win some, you lose some, baby. The Bengals play the Broncos Saturday. I am going with the Bengals. They are hot right now. They're red hot. They're really finding their strength and cohesion. The offense has been gelling. And I see the way in which they're able to go out there and dominate just like they did at Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll follow you with that as well. Bengals are hot. They know what they have to do.
And I'm gonna. This is the first time we've actually agreed. I think Bengals.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right. And then last but not least, the Browns play the Dolphins. Now, before going into that, let's just say that we remember that game was flexed because it was supposed to be on Thursday night, and then they switched that to – or no, I'm sorry, it's supposed to be Sunday night. Let's talk about the Bengals. The Browns and Dolphins were supposed to play at Sunday night, but said they moved it earlier to 4:05 time. Atrocity, if you say so. Going Miami. I don't see why in which I would choose Cleveland unless I just had like $1 and just wanted to bet the house on it and think I'd come up with a big win, in a parlay or something. Sapphire thinks Miami. Chris as well, Miami. All right.
I can't give my tickets away. I got tickets, great seats to that game. I can't give them away.
Wow.
Yeah, well, with that being said, we're going to get going right now. But thank you all again for tuning in Monday night. Please enjoy your Christmas Eve and enjoy your Christmas Day. Enjoy your time. Yeah, stay safe, stay warm with the family. You can watch movies, Coco, cookies, all that stuff. Watch NBA, watch NFL, and but more important than anything, to be ready to tune back into the Spirit of the podcast. So, thank you all again. We appreciate everybody, and yeah, you guys have a good one. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Happy Holidays.
And we'll be back next week. But until then, stay tuned and be ready to watch some more of the best division in football. So, adios, ciao. You're going to follow us on socials at Fear the North 4, Blue Sky, X. Please share, repost, like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, share with your family. If you know a person who knows a person who knows a person who likes football, college, pro, whatever it be, you show them this, because I promise they're not going to get this anywhere else. So, with that being said, thank you all again. With that being said, thank you all again, and take care and have a good one. Salute.